I am hearing some feedback. So, um, okay. Let's start with the intro question today, and the intro question will be, how are you today? How did you wake up? What activities have you done? What do you have to do today? Do you have any hurry, or do you have some distraction? I will say that I'm very good. I have a lot of work, and that makes me feel very alive, and I'm very happy that we are actually doing this call today, because each conflict management working group call is a learning experience for me, and I think it's also good for the purpose of building resilience in the organization. So yeah, that's my take for the question. Um, and I will pass it to Mateo.
Hey guys, so yeah, I'm really good actually, feeling amazing. Yesterday I met with a couple of friends that I haven't seen in like a couple of years, and it felt amazing. And everything else, been working hard with Givet. This morning I was updating the staging environment at least, because that was not updated for like a week or so. So yeah, catching books, and I'm trying to make that effort a little bit faster. And everything else, great. Happy to be here and offer as much value as I can. So I'll pass it to Livia.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, I'm also very good. I'm working in a very beautiful place that have deers and turkeys and squirrels running around all the time. So it feels good to be here. And my partner gave me an espresso machine. So this morning I got to wake up and make like a fresh espresso, and that felt really good. Um, and I'll pass to Durgadas.
I'm good. I, boy, I'm busy. It feels like I have I have 4 jobs at the moment. I think it feels like anyway. Um, yeah, I slept really well, but I'm definitely feeling the impact of doing uh, a lot of things for consecutive. So I'm a little bit limited this morning.
Who did you pass it to?
And I'll pass it to I arrived a little late, so maybe Zeptimus is.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Durgadas. For me, I feel like great, and I like Durgadas. I feel like super good because like I am able to do many things in like every day, and like for example, I'm working on my job, but then I'm doing sport, then I'm here, and sometimes I'm playing video games. Like I can do a lot of things, and that's so good. Like, and I'm learning a lot, like from everything. And I'll pass it to Griff.
Yeah, following that, it's hard. Yeah, I feel the same. Feeling really good. Have a lot to do. Lots of calls. Definitely a little distracted because we have to. Both Livia and I will be like dishing praise or quantifying praise for the common stack during the next few hours during all of our calls. So that's a distraction. I also feel like I need to get the agenda set for the call today, the TEC call. I'm working on both of those during this call, unfortunately, a little bit, but I'm still ready to throw those aside because I do have an hour break where I can actually get the work done. So yeah. Other than that, like, wow, so much going on, and so excited to be back in full swing. I'll pass it to you, Juan.
Okay. So I think we can jump into the first topic of the agenda. And the first topic of the agenda is to present the Typeform for easy access of conflict management mechanisms. The link is in the Discord Gravity channel. And yeah, the idea is to everyone check on it, and if you have some comments, we can you can put it as an answer, or either you can write it and send it to me. I will share my screen so that everyone can follow the same thing. Okay. So the idea is the Typeform is advertised before the community calls, and that people can put information in the Typeform, even if it's just a suggestion or something small, because what we want is to be able to prevent and to identify conflict in the best moment possible. So yeah, it says first start, and it first asks the name, the Discord or the Telegram handles of the people that is of the person that is filling the request. I'm going to make a demo. So my name is Juan Carlos, and I am Juan Cabel. And the second thing is, what would you like to communicate to the system? This idea is for having like a first measurement of what is the scale of the conflicts that the people informing to the Typeform sees. So I would say that I have a suggestion, and if the issue involves direct members, please provide Discord, Telegram handles. I would say an example, and it's Mateo, and arroba Mateo Daza. So then it says, please describe the most objective way what you would like to inform. If there is sensible information, please don't give any details and let us reach you. This is because as the group of conflict managers is going to have access to this to the answers of this Typeform, we don't want to have like all the information there, and we want to have like if there is sensible information to treat that in a more private way. So here is just like for letting the community shepherds or the conflict managers to reach you. And I am going to say an example, like Mateo. I'm going to example.
Before we continue, Juanca, I have something to say because
Mateo was saying that.
Hey, Juan, can you hear Mateo?
yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. That he didn't like.
I guess he's not listening to us.
Like
Hey, hey Juan.
To
Juan. I think maybe he has
be
us all.
called.
I think he has a delay. He's gonna hear in
Matt.
like 3 minutes.
It's just an example.
Maybe
He just like prefers to be called
I think he's
Mateo,
got us
and
muted completely.
he doesn't like people to be calling him Matt, and like then the conflict managers can yeah, have this, read this information, and then address to the people on or the community stewards or the leaders to tell that Mateo prefers to be called Mateo and not Matt. How do you think this issue could be managed? I first posed this for mechanisms, and negotiation is the first one that is talking directly with other parts and the witness facilitator. Are you speaking? I seem that I can hear you.
Ahora sí.
No, I can't hear you.
Ya le puedo avisar. Sorry, I was talking in Spanish.
If this merits a sanction, I would say no sanction. And if there is any link to follow the thread, for an example, like a forum post or a Discord message where Mateo was called Matt and not Mateo, and this is just to give an example. So yeah, that's the first idea of the people of how will people like make inputs on conflicts in the organization. Something happened. I'm sorry.
Can you hear us now?
Hey Juan, can you hear us?
Now? Can you hear us?
I started calling him. I started calling him on Telegram, and then he's like, "Oh my God, what's happening?"
He got nervous.
It's the weirdest thing is this is the only call where that happens with him.
Can you hear us now?
I'm so sorry.
I can hear you now.
I'm so sorry.
No, perfect, man. We're paying attention, though.
Okay. So,
Mateo had something to say, though.
Yeah,
what were
I
you
wanted
saying,
to say
Mateo?
because I think it's important and it's related. I've been talking to Santi, and what the work that we are going to do with SourceCred is related to the identity that we need to set up for everyone in the TEC Commons. So if we choose a same effort for grabbing all the Discord, Telegram, and all of those accounts and merge it into one, that will help us also. So that effort will be like correlated between those parts. And the idea is that in SourceCred we have one alias that is linked between Discord and GitHub and Discourse and Telegram and everything. So we need to, maybe in the sync call today, we talk about it and which will be the best way. So when you do that in that Typeform that you were showing us, there wouldn't be the need of grabbing all of the information because we should have had it previously. So you can say, give us your name or something like that, your full name, and then we can grab it from our database or whatever service we are using to handle all of the accounts. That's what I wanted to say.
Just a suggestion. I recommend email.
You recommend?
Everyone's got their email that they use, and in our HubSpot, that's like people's identifier. Mm-hmm. So using email is generally like, people can say livia@protonmail.com or whatever, and then like, okay, great, this is your identifier, and then we collect all the data based off of that email.
I agree. I think he's frozen again. Did you listen, Juanca?
Yes, I can listen to every one of you.
Perfect. No, that's
okay. I think we can jump to the second point of the agenda, that is to review the GitHub issues related to conflict management epics. This is something I did with Tamara, I think 2 weeks ago. And first, we had a roadmap with 4 points. And now we have 3 epics. in the zenhub. So I am going to show my screen again and take out the camera. Okay.
And Mateo, maybe if you can mute.
Well, I am not seeing it as a zenhub.
Just click zenhub again at the top.
I will refresh.
Yeah, I don't know. zenhub has been really slow. I feel like there's some sort of problem with the internet lately. Have you guys noticed this? It feels like everything is a little slow, like servers
Yes.
are disconnected.
Okay. zenhub. Okay. So we have 3 epics that they are basically one for what would be the role and the parameters of conflict of the conflict management group. One that I'm so sorry because this is not working.
It's okay. It'll just take some time. I'm telling you, the internet is slow for everyone right now.
Okay, then let's jump to the third point of the agenda for the moment. That the third point of the agenda is to review Aragon agreements. How can we nurture and complement them? I have been seeing this page of Aragon agreements, and I think it's awesome. And I think it's more or less what we want to do, but in a more smaller scope for just our organization. I also know that Mateo was studying a little bit of Aragon agreements. So I want to know, Mateo, what do you think about Aragon agreements, and how? What do you think that we can nurture, learn from what they're doing, and what can we like complement on the initial idea that they are applying?
The thing with the Aragon agreements is that they're trying to make the not like a objective formal contract, but as a like a rule of conduct, but with a real agreement, as it says, as the name says. So it's not like code or something, but it needs the interpretation of someone. So the key that is missing in the DAO agreements, let's say, is the human part that we are organizing. So as this is not code per se that will be automated, it is like a personal, human readable agreement that will need someone to be checking on regularly, let's say. And if that agreement is broken, we still need the mediation that Aragon will solve with Aragon Court, but we in the TEC are having the gravity and all of these self-governance version of it. So if we are going full with the Aragon versions, we need to set up the DAO in there, and the court that is not really going that widely. I'm not sure if that court has had many successful examples. I don't know them. Maybe Griff knows. But I believe that these agreements will help us keep in record what some conflicts may become in the future. So the human part is what we need to organize. We wouldn't use the Aragon court, or maybe we would. I'm not sure. But maybe the self-governance aspect of the human interaction that these agreements need is what we need to solve.
The big challenge with the Aragon Court is, number one, paused right now. Number two, It's not on XDAI. So, but OneHive is talking about creating Celeste. Either way, the way I see these agreements are that they allow anyone to challenge, which is really cool. It's a really cool use case where if there's a proposal, anyone can challenge that proposal if it doesn't match the agreement. And then you just need some other party who judges if that's true. And I think that can easily be a token holder group, a multisig basically, right? And it could be the conflict, it could be the gravity multisig, for instance. I say multisig, really there would be a token that these people would hold and it would have its own mini gravity DAO. But it's the same as a multisig. It's just in Aragon, everything's a DAO, you know, whether it's a multisig or not.
When you say proposal that people can what was the word you used? It challenge. You mean proposals that are submitted and that they might not be in agreement with the organization, or a conflict proposal? Like, let's say a conflict escalated to a point that we put a proposal up and then people challenge that the legitimacy of that. What do you mean by proposals?
Yeah, I mean more the latter. Oh, sorry, Juan, you can take it.
Yeah, one case that Aragon Agreements and Challenge is trying to solve is what happened on Maker, that a decision was like altered on the last moment, and people that feel that that decision, even though it was a full proposal, was not legitimate, they can like challenge the legitimacy of the decision taken. So yeah, I also think that it's very similar to what we are proposing here, and the human layer, the gravity group, would be like our intern Aragon court, and the agreement should be the product of these calls, of the action of this group of people. So I think we can learn a lot from them.
This is also going to need to touch legal, because we're going to have agreements with, I think, merging. Basically, before people make a proposal, before people get into the bonding curve, there is going to be terms and conditions that they must sign. Now, I think that's going to end up being, especially if you guys push it, Aragon agreements, and instead of a terms and condition box. That's what we were going to do. It's just a terms and condition box. But we could integrate Aragon agreements if it works. And so just working closely with legal to add in some pieces and make these terms and agreements something that is like reviewed by both groups could be really beneficial. And one thing I just wanted to define, because I don't know if Olivia's answer was really answered, or question was really answered. And I want to like just define this very classic use case where it's like, okay, everyone who votes and this is even on their website, but it's a very common known DAO problem. What if the DAO has, $1 million and they say, hey, everyone who votes yes on this proposal will split the money that's held by the DAO, right? And then all the money goes to the people who vote yes. And it's kind of like a way to screw everyone else who's not paying attention. That should be against the agreements, and so then you have this extra check that's like anyone could challenge that, and then be like, that's not what I agreed to in joining this DAO, and then it would get kicked to Aragon Court or to, in this case, the gravity DAO, and there would be like a say, yes, you're right. That's not in accordance to this agreement, so not possible. And so it solves that kind of use case and other use cases.
So I have a question
There,
about how we're examining some of this stuff, but I'm happy to insert that whenever it's reasonable.
yeah, go ahead, Durgadas.
So it seems to me there are three basic things. There's sort of the human side of this thing, the individual person who's involved in it. There's also sort of the concern-centric level, that is to say, a person who's working on a particular project or has invested a lot of time in a particular thing. In spiral dynamics and Ken Wilber's thing, they talk about this in terms of ethnocentric. So whatever it is that people are heavily identified with, I imagine that we could come up with different groups within the tech community that have different sets of interests. And then there's a sort of world-centric view, which is to say that of the entire community as a whole, and or how that whatever it is that we're doing affects the world. So what I'm trying to figure out is, it seems like the conflict resolution group is talking about things without defining which one of these three populations we're exactly speaking toward at any given time. And so I find myself a little bit confused about when I'm talking about the Aragon Agreement. Seems like that's talking about the community as a whole, whereas the NVC stuff is more on the human side. I'm just trying to make sure that I have a really clear sense of that as I'm having discussions along this line, because I think it would help us to figure out which particular use cases we have or that we're concerned with. And by documenting those use cases, then we could target different solutions to suit those use cases.
Okay. Yeah, I think that that would lead us to the fourth point of the agenda. That is something that was in a working group proposal that is called Working Group Omega, and they signal that still the parameters that we are trying to propose, they have some cracks. So it may leave some people not feeling included, and the question is, who are not feeling included, who are we missing, and how do we know when people is excluded? Because this is something it's very problematic, because you only know that you are lacking something when you need it. So how can we be prepared for knowing what are we missing without needing it, but like preventing the lack of something? So I think this is a very problematic issue, because it also will make us have that boundary of what is this human group of conflict managers, what is the space, the context, and and boundaries where this conflict management is going to move. So
I just feel like we should do an inventory of that and figure out who all the different sets of people are, and that way when we design our systems, then those are designed with all of the people who are actually participating, and then we have solutions for them.
Who is the working group Omega? What is that about?
Yes, yes. In the working group Omega, it says in the second point, in the second goal, it says sorry, my computer is really slow. Yeah, it says in the TE culture. I'm going to share my screen again. So I think what we're going to discuss is the second point that talks about TE culture. Who are we missing, and how do we know who are we missing in our community? Because I feel that it's like a visible thing that there are people that feel that they are not like being included in some of the activities of the organization. But how do we know which are these people, and how do we know if we are missing them in the organization, if we are not recognizing them, how can we make people, everyone, feel included by the decisions of the organization? Because there's people that sometimes don't feel included by some decisions. How this um, the easy take would be to add everyone on the praise, but on the praise system. But the other thing that these people have communicated is that this is not something just about praise. This is also something about involvement and recognition. So how can we make the people that is not feeling included or represented in the organization to have a more involved approach, and to do this in a very human way?
And what I'm suggesting is by inventorying the groups of people that you have, and then you figure out what those people's needs are, then you create structures that would automatically align with those needs, and therefore would lessen the overall potential for conflict. Now, on the other hand, there are just governing principles that we all need to agree to in the large context of what it is we're all doing here. So not only what happens with the money and all and how does that all happen, but also just what are the principles of the DAO itself and so on. So everyone has to opt in to those first couple, or you just don't participate because it doesn't make sense for you to participate here. But at the same, that's kind of at the world centric level. But we have to kind of inventory the people at the layers, however many there are further down, it seems to me. And so it's not just about how they feel exactly. Feelings arise from needs being met or not met. And if you don't know what their needs are and you don't know who they are, then how are you going to actively figure out how to prevent or service those needs?
Um, okay, I'm just looking at this document right now. It seems like an improvement on the working group 0. That was an idea Shabman had in the beginning of the cultural build. And just to address a bit of what you're saying, Durgadas, we do have statements for what is the vision, the mission, and the values of the organization, that we had a session in the beginning to iterate them in a collaborative way. And I hear you that we need one of the goals of the SoftGov and also the Gravity working groups now is to integrate all of the statements into the culture in a way that they're very clear for everyone and for everyone who's joining. So we did have a gap of onboarding for a while things were moving really fast, and it's about a little bit about what we were talking in the call yesterday. So yeah, I think maybe actions to address this that are in progress, in my opinion, is to have a more clear onboarding, and perhaps put it together with terms and agreements, like Griff was saying, that it's also something we've been discussing for a while, to have like a checkbox of some sorts when people join, so they know what they're joining, what they're signing up for. And I agree that we should continue the conversation with the Omega working group. I need to catch up on all of the messages of the general chat. Maybe some of them addressing this are there. And last point, I think that touches a little bit on the issues that were submitted to the forum, Jeff and I. And I talked to you briefly about this, but then Jeff also brought it up of like, oh, what are the next steps after submitting an issue for the form? And maybe like, how can we see all together if that conflict was resolved or not? Does it need anything else? Maybe we can start thinking about this journey of like, once an issue is submitted, like what are all the steps that go after on this journey, and then have that very clear for everyone that will submit an issue in the future.
Yeah, I'd like to
Yes.
see that. I'd like to see that Typeform be more specifically addressing the feelings and needs of the person who's dealing with that, rather than trying to identify it from our perspective. It's a little bit like the queue problem when you call up and you just said, your call is important to us, like, so the longer you put off the person expressing their need in that form, the more frustrating it is for them. So in some way we've got to maybe start addressing what it is that they actually called about, or writing on the type form about right off the bat, as quickly as possible, preferably in the first one or two parts of the wizard.
Okay, I think that can be done. And on what Livia was saying, I am really mad because the zenhub isn't working, but there is an issue where I found a document that is a manual for alternative dispute resolution centers, and it has a lot of like material that we can work from in order to make that process of after the dispute was commented on the type form.
I can share my screen. I can share my screen. Go through the zenhub.
Okay. It's number 131. Page 63 of the document that is linked. Yeah, there. So there are some like forms of conflict management agreements, and I think that when dispute goes into that state, we could have like agreements, and to make these acts of how of what was the result of the evaluation. And in that document, in other, you can see like how is the commitment that the people do when they enter the conflict management process. So I think that a step that is needed to be done is to like take some of the information that is in our own document for the tech, where it says how it reacts of conflict management and how are going to be the agreements. What do you think about this?
Am I showing the right page?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you exactly what page is.
It said 63. Oh, okay. 63 on the paper. This one?
Yeah, that's the code of conduct for mediators. What I'm also proposing is that this group of conflict managers should have an extended code of conduct with specific requirements that are not needed for everyone in the organization, but that is impartiality, conflict of interest. But below in the document is where I'm saying, and Appendix E, case management forms. It's in page 76 in the document. And let's go to page Appendix 4E, no, E4. It's page 83 in the PDF, 76 in the document. No, up. Yeah, that's it. We should have like these acts, and we should, and I think we should upload it when there is an agreement between parties in the organization. So like everyone like starts in the same point and commits to the decisions that taken with the agreement. So what do you think? I think that we should a document like this for every case that scales after the Typeform.
Yeah, maybe I have to look more in depth into it. I was thinking if there is a journey that we could think of, like this conflict management journey, that what are the steps that need to be in place for an issue to be closed, and then maybe once we have the steps, we would understand how to go more in depth about each one of them and what is needed for like each step to be informed, and if we need agreements, or because maybe it could be something like, oh, first step is an issue submitted to the form, then second step, a mediator gets in touch with the person that submitted the issue, then third step, there is like a follow-up on what are the organic actions that happened since that issue was submitted. Do we need to get in touch with the person that the conflict was with? Is there any information that arrived post issue was submitted? if everything was solved, then what is the type of information that is given to the people that were involved in that issue? I don't know, something like this, like a simple journey.
Yeah, and it's going to be a complicated journey because I think there's going to be a part where the mediator assesses the level of the conflict, and then each one has its own little path. You know, if it's one person saying someone else's name wrong, I don't think anyone needs to sign a form about mediation. You know, but if it's like sexual harassment, that things go a different route. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think the same. That that's what is the strategic management of conflict. That if something is small, it should remain small. But if something we see that could be that could turn really big, that we could like address it in the right moment. So I think that not every input on the Typeform should have form, but for cases that we identify that are big enough that we can make our own mediation agreement, and that we have our database where that agreements are held between the organization. But I really like what Livia said about. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I just have a question, but can wait.
That I like what Livia said about me, and to clarify what are the steps of the process to everyone in the organization. I think that's something that could be really good for communication and for people to be clear on what are we trying to do. Yes, Sebnem.
Okay, so basically these conflict mediation agreements will be signed by all participants of the hedge, or is it for midterm and long term?
No, I think that what should be signed by participants are the terms and conditions that say, hey, you agree to these terms and conditions that if something, you can be called to have a mediation if you are having a conflict with someone. But the thing is that this is not for every conflict. This is for a strategical conflicts that can be that can be settled between with a mediation, because if there is very small things that are said in the type, there is no need for mediation. For an example, the example that we are saying about spelling someone's name, I think that if I tell Grief, or if I communicate in the Typeform that I don't like the way someone is pronouncing my name, the conflict manager can address to that person and tell, hey, please pronounce correctly his name, just because he feels more comfortable with it, and that doesn't need a mediation agreement. This is for punctual cases where the parties don't get to an agreement, and the communication is so that the mediator's role is to ease the communication for a better point for both parts. But this is very old school and related to traditional, but I would really like if we can give like a technological turn on these agreements, and make something like that it more that has like more tech on it. It's written paper, like something that we can follow the part, some ways to ensure, as what Griff was saying, of having a reputation between the conflict managers and making it like a multisig or a DAO.
Did you give a thought to what Lawrence had suggested, that basically there are people who are capable and have, you know, experience in mediation or these very, very intriguing types of communication that, for example, a lot of token engineers will be missing, and basically incentivize them to actually be in the community and feel around, you know, and sense that when conflicts arise, or even before, I mean, you know, these when those people are trained, it's just fantastic. I know, I mean, I worked with a lot of coaches, etc., and when I, for example, see what Regis is coming up with, etc., why not take this very, very specific ability and knowledge that we have in the community, and really let those people basically, first of all, figure out what kind of conflicts have ever arisen here. You know, let's not start with the World Bank because those guys have been dealing with, you know, a lot of baggage that hopefully we won't drag in here. And that's, I mean, because right now I felt like we are in this dog fooding short term. Let's get this, you know, let's make the rubber hit the road, but don't break things. How are we going to have these, you know, I think it's Griff or Fabian's wording, or that the wording that they brought in was this wipe watchers, and I was just really curious about it. So why not go that path and try it once, and actually gather experience with how did they work, how did that work with the people who, you know, who were wipe watchers. Did they actually sense things before, or really there was a conflict brewing and then they came in but still fixed it? How was the person, you know, actually saying that there is a conflict felt about that? So why not like go through this experience together before, you know, making agreements of clauses and words that, you know, we can interpret anything into it. And at this stage in crypto or anywhere, I mean, we've been through all of the tools. The tools are just not sufficient. So we are building the tools, like the road, the car, and the engine. So yeah, I mean, yeah. First of all, I think the scope can be really small and then fit to our common agreement or understanding that we are dog fooding, we're learning by doing, but actually get, you know, get those wipe watchers. Do we even have people who would like to do that, you know? Like, for example, not work on the document, but actually, for example, I forgot the name, but what you brought in with, you know, I'm sorry and forgive me, you know, this type of small exercises, they're so much more powerful, and let's just try them out. And but, you know, in a way that actually can be helped maybe through some sort of technology as well. But let's not focus on agreements, papers, a lot of words from other people, and also not not technology or tools that we have now, but actually get the people who have a talent for this, to actually try it out. And let's share our experience. Did it work? What happened? Like when I hear sanctions and so on, I'm like, oh my God, please don't sanction me. So these type of things, like, I mean, it's not even a conflict or thing, but like words have effect on people because of their previous experiences and how they're brought up and so on and so forth. So why not I mean, it's super easy to say, let's try this out, but I think we have sufficiently capable and talented people who could facilitate first trials. And I don't think, in terms of use and terms of service and agreements, I get that the legal side needs to be closed, but I was thinking the conflict management is more about finding new ways that can work in such a distributed but passionate community like tech.
Yeah, I
So
totally
I have a
agree with
question.
what you're saying. And sorry, Livia, please continue.
No, go ahead.
That I think that the scope of conflict management should attack conflicts when they arise, but it should also prevent conflicts. So I think that we should have both. We should have like a way to structure agreements, individual agreements, if conflict arises, but we should also like have a strategies for promoting non-violent communication in the organization, so that and everyone in the organization safe, and that they agree to the values of the organization.
Mm. And could that be part of the onboarding or part of a skill tree session where you level up if you take such a course or whatever workshop or so? Because I mean, just by reading it, I'm not going to get wiser, right? So we need some sort of facilitation. And if we have that process, we can just go for it and test things out. But yeah.
Yeah, I have to say, in my experience, I remember reading Marshall Rosenberg's Nonviolent Communication for the first time, and it was very life-changing for me. But the thing that was the most life-changing about it was actually using it in the given situation, right? And having a practice group with which I could actually intentionally meet. And I remember one of the most beautiful things that ever happened to me during that time was just this person who was in the group who just super irked me all the time. And I feel like I needed to do something about it, but I didn't trust the process enough to actually go through it. And then by the time I had been in the group for a few months, I finally trusted the process enough to just say, dude, you just irk me, and I don't know why. So like, I've got to figure that out. And then I just leaned on everyone in the group in the process itself, and it was a very beautiful resolution in the end. And I just feel like if we take it with the view that all of this kind of thing can be resolved, rather than these incredibly technical explanations about everything. Sometimes those technical explanations are useful, but at the same time, and there needs to be some agreements, but at the same time, I think we just need to be much, much more human with each other until we get to a certain threshold. And we need the opportunity to practice in many ways. So I would almost propose that we have a group where we actually practice what this language actually is and what does it mean, and how to actually speak to each other in this way, and try to, rather than just everyone being polite and being heard, there needs to be some active use of this stuff. Plus, I also see that there are some things that you could bring up in the Typeform, like, hey, I have a strong feeling about some of the structural things that I'm noticing about the group that might be helpful, that might also just be useful for people just want to get their input in there and make it known. So that could be another sort of human need. I just keep thinking we're making a mistake if we're not focused on needs right away.
Yeah, I need to jump. I just wanted to make a comment, or just a remark. So I was a bit surprised that the working group 0 proposal landed in the conflict group, and I really wanted to ask, like, it shouldn't taken as a conflict, like not that working group, because it's really something fundamental. It was working group 0 because it was literally the first working group we spun up. Sensing that these are the questions, and you can look in the history and how it changed. And I think it has now a very curated form with fundamental topics that are of utmost interest to people who are actually going community first and trying to figure out how to build community, and then basically how to let their rules emerge, right? Not impose some other rules from elsewhere that might seem perfect, but really community first, and let them co-create and generate their ethos. So it's something I'm just so fascinated with. Like, so that's not a conflict at all. It's just pure curiosity and pure gratefulness that we actually have people who join, like Kelsey, for example, an ethnographer. Like, I'm just super happy that we have these people in the community, and it's going to be a hell of a sense making, right? So please don't take that as a conflict or as a when we say ethical first, I really mean it. Like, software developers and business architects, they don't learn ethics. Like, the last time they heard about ethics was high school, if they're lucky. I can say that because I know, right? And that's something is very dear to me, that I want to change that for myself, and I want to change that for fellow onboarders on the token engineering. It's just, it's just great that we have these people in the community, and it's great that we can actually form and have that sense making. So, but again, I have to jump, and happy to
I want
talk
to tell
about
you something.
of next week.
Sebnem, that I put that in the agenda today because I think it's so important what it says in that group, that we need to review it, and we need to learn, and we need to ask the questions that are in that working group, because they are very important, and we are like having to review them, and yeah, that's why I try to put that here, because I also feel that it's very, and I really like the scope of that working group and the take that I'm taking about this call is that more than strengthening the system, that we need to do it. We need to keep working on the human side of to keep working on that. This doesn't feel like a push for anyone, but more for something normal, and yeah, that comes from a consensus.
Perfect. And for example, like parts that are of interest to conflict management working group, if you can, highlight or comment them, it would be super helpful to just also get on board, like what happened in the past 8 weeks or so, where I just didn't have as much time really to be on board. Okay, thanks a lot. And yeah, thank you. See you, talk soon.